Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone joining us once again for the new episode of our Sahabah series here on Bayat al-Qadr. If you're just tuning in to our channel and you've never seen a video before, I'm going to advise you to click subscribe and hit the notifications bell, because you will, inshallah ta'ala, enjoy the videos and the content that we have on this channel. Before I introduce our guest, I'm just going to briefly touch on what this series is. So in previous episodes, we've discussed the companions and associates of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We've talked about the Sunni definition of what a companion is, or a Sahabi is. We've also discussed the concept of Adala as-Sahabah, which is referring to their alleged justice and just qualities. And we've also talked about, among many other things, we've talked about the fatwas from numerous Sunni scholars regarding punishments if one was to criticize these individuals, even if with evidence. So it's quite, yes, it's been a very good series so far. With me, I have the usual suspects. We have Sayyid Ali, Sayyid Rida, and Brother Ahmed.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? Yeah, so Sayyid Ali, I believe that we've had some refutation videos made regarding our recent videos. Would you like to touch on that before we continue any further?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum to the viewers. Inshallah, hopefully your fast went well. For those who have just started or commencing the fast, inshallah, Allah make it easy for you. And for those who just open their fasts, may Allah accept your fasts. During the show, if you notice, I might be drinking some coffee. So, of course, according to UK time, you know, we've just obviously opened our fast. So I apologize in advance. I will try to refrain as much as possible and not drinking, just in case the viewers might be fasting or just start their fast. So yes, there is a channel, and I in no way do I mean to what's the word? I don't want to target any individual. But what I will be showing is a video from another channel, from a channel that goes by the name Sunni Defense League. I believe it's called Sunni Defense League. And I'd like to play you a clip, very interesting clip. So if I can give you a background in terms of what the clip's about. The clip is about the topic of the justice of the companions. And what the brother does is he shares the opinion of a Sunni scholar in terms of what they consider to be, adul, as in what how do they define all the companions being just and truthful? And there's a very crucial point which I'd like you to note here. And the brother mentions, well, actually, let me play you the clip. I think that's the best thing to do. If you just give me a second, I'm just going to screen share. Can you see my screen, Ryan?
Yeah, we can see you.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to play you the clip of what the brother says. So if you just pay attention.
So, very interesting excerpt from his book. So what Al-San'ani says is, yes, our belief is that the majority of the Sahaba are adul, and they're trustworthy as well. However, the ones that were proven to be fusaq among them are rejected.
So he goes, our general principle is that we consider all the Sahaba to be adul, and those who do fisk from them, those who commit severe acts, sinful act, they do not consider those individuals to be truthful.
this notion. And the reason this qaid or this requirement is often not listed is because it's very rare. It's very rare to find Sahaba that actually fell under this category. And so they don't mention it because it's practically non-existent.
So he says that this is practically non-existent. So it's not normal to find somebody who has fisk. Actually, let me show you what the meaning of the word fisk is according to the hadith. So we have a hadith here, and this hadith is taken from Sunnah.com, which is a well-known website. And I'll just zoom into the hadith to show you what the word fisk is. So it says, narrated Abdullah, okay, the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, said, abusing a Muslim is fusk, an evil doing, and killing him is an act of disbelief. So in principle, anyone who abuses another Muslim commits an act of fusuk, commits an act of fisk. Therefore, if we apply that to the statement mentioned earlier by the brother, which is that, if there was a Sahaba who commits an act of fusuk or fisk, he would no longer considered to be adul. He would no longer be considered to be reliable. So what he says is that in principle, this is something very rare and it doesn't really exist amongst the Sahaba. Even though today we're not going to be focusing on that, because there are many examples we can give of fusuk of Sahaba, which according to what this brother says, would take them out of them being adul. But today we're going to focus on how, if we apply this principle about fisk being applied on people other than the Sahaba or those of later generation, how we need to question their integrity. We need to question their integrity when it comes to narrating hadith. So I just want to play you another clip as well from the same channel, from the same brother, inshallah. And if you just give me a second, I just want you to pay very close attention to his words here.
So in theory, a Shafi'i statement debunks that. We also have practical examples which debunk this, where people are considered to be udul, they're considered to be trustworthy, they're considered to be reliable, their transmission is accepted, yet they fall into sin, sometimes major sin.
So if you notice, this brother's statement you can see it kind of contradicts the statement of the previous brother in the other video. So he's saying here now that, look, there are people out there who commit major sin. However, you can still consider them to be trustworthy. So now, if the Sahaba cannot be considered to be trustworthy based on an act of fusuk, which takes them out of Adala, then, one would need to ask, how can anyone else be exempt from this rule, especially when they're not considered to be companions? So now he's going to mention a particular group of people, the Nawasib. I will show you who the Nawasib are, but I just want you to pay attention to what he says about the Nasibis.
And we have some examples we can go over. I'll mention one. So we have Asad ibn Wada', and Adabi talks about him, or not Adabi, sorry. Ibn Hajar talks about him in Lisan al-Mizan. So Asad ibn Wada' kana yasubbu Aliya. He used to curse Ali radiallahu anhu. And there's 2 points I want to make here. Number one, cursing in itself is a sin.
Wow. So so let's come back to the point now. So I will give you a background in terms of who the Nasibis are and who the Kharijis are. So here he's talking particularly about the Nawasib. So when we look at the science of hadith, we understand the hadith in 2 parts. You have the content of the hadith, which is the matan of the hadith, and then you have the isnad, the chain of transmission. Now, for those of you who are not aware, when we look at the science of hadith, the followers of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, we take our hadith from obviously the Prophet's household, and these traditions were later transmitted by the companions of the Imams, and this is how it's reached us till today. So our Sunni brothers, on the other hand, when it comes to their traditions, their main narrators would be the Sahaba. So the general principle is, when it comes to the Sahaba, they don't make any investigation on the companion. They do have ikhtilaf when it comes to whether or not the person, if he's a child, because by definition, even a child, according to them, would be a Sahaba. Some of the scholars disputed whether or not, that child has to reach a certain age before accepting traditions from them. So this is a little dispute they have. So in general, the general theory is, when it comes to the companion, there's no investigation upon the companion, and they're all considered truthful individuals. However, when we look at the later part of the traditions, and that's when the traditions were passed from the Sahaba to the next generation people, and so forth, and before they were recorded in the Hadith literature, some of those individuals who were mentioned in the chains of transmission included people who were Nawasib and Kharijis. So for those who don't know much about the Nawasib and Kharijis, let me just give you a quick background, actually. And I want to quickly screen share for you guys. If you just give me a second. So before I mention who the Nawasib are, it's very important I mention this hadith of the Prophet. It's a very well-known, respected hadith, accepted hadith. Sorry, apologies. And it's mentioned in Sahih Muslim, and the chapter is called "Evidence that the love of the Ansar and the love of Ali is part of faith and a sign thereof. Hating them is a sign of hypocrisy." So anyone who hates Imam Ali alayhi salam or the Ansar, according to this chapter in Sahih Muslim, is considered to be a munafiq. Okay, and we know from the Holy Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the munafiqeen are indeed liars. Okay, so a testimony of a hypocrite would never be accepted generally. Okay, so this hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, book 1, hadith number 141, and the hadith is narrated on the authority of Imam Ali alayhi salam, who said, "By him who split up the seed and created something living, the apostle, may Allah's peace and blessing be upon him and his family, gave me a promise that none but a believer would love me, and none but a hypocrite would nurse a grudge against me." And we know the status of a munafiq is even worse than those of disbelief, the kuffar. The hypocrites, according to the Holy Quran, would abide in hellfire till eternity. So as we can see from this narration from Sahih Muslim, which, by the way, Sahih Muslim is considered to be the sister book of the Quran. You have the brother book, which is Bukhari, and then after Bukhari, you have Muslim. And the general consensus amongst the Sunni ulama and within the Sunni community as well, generally, is that everything recorded in Sahih Muslim is Sahih. And even so, our respected Sunni brothers, they have this belief that, loving the Sahaba as part of faith and rejecting them is a sign of hypocrisy. And this is one of the accusations, obviously, they throw out against the Shi'as as well. So we have this general rule now, and that is that love of Ali is a sign of belief, and bearing a grudge against him or hating him is a sign of hypocrisy. Now I'd like to present to you who the Nasibis were, the Nawasib. Al-Dhahbi, in his book Siyar al-Alam an-Nubala, volume 4, page 37, he mentions that Nasb means to have grudge against Ali and love for Muawiyah. Okay, I'm just going to mention you the quotes, so you can always go back and you can always pause the screen in your own time, and you can always look at these references for yourself just to verify them. And this is why we like showing our references, because people can always go out there and verify them later on. So this is from Ibn Hajar Asqalani, and he says, "The Nawasib are the followers of Muawiyah in the Battle of Siffin." So as you can see, the Nawasib were people who were supporters of Muawiyah. And again, for Muawiyah, we'll come do a whole series on Muawiyah alone. But for now, we're just showing you that who the Nawasib were. Ibn Manzur, in his famous book Lisan al-Arab, mentions that the Nawasib are those who embrace the hate of Ali as an integral part of their faith. And as I mentioned earlier, in Sahih Muslim, a sign of a hypocrite is one who bears grudge against Imam Ali alayhi salam. But the Nawasib, on the other hand, they made the hatred of Imam Ali alayhi salam as an integral part of the religion. It was something that they kept this animosity towards Imam Ali. Nawasib again, they are those who hate the chief of believers and the leaders of the Muslims, Abu al-Hasan Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And I think I've got one more quote, I believe. Suyuti, and he says Nawasib are those who kept hostility towards Ali alayhi salam and preferring the others. So the point being is that when it comes to the Nawasib, the Kharijis, we know from history, these were individuals who, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he killed a lot of people in battle. Okay, so the Nawasib, they were people who was, you could say, affected by Imam Ali alayhi salam's, his bravery in battle, because some of their family members fell victims and they were murdered by Imam. They were killed in battle by Imam Ali alayhi salam. So this is why they had this grudge and this hatred and animosity towards Imam Ali alayhi salam. But having said that, on the other hand, you had the Kharijites, and I don't know if you are familiar to the history of the Khawarij. The Khawarij, they say, they emerged during the time of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon them. And the Kharijis, there was an individual who went by the name of, I believe it was Zul Khawaisara, and when the Prophet was distributing booty amongst the new Muslims, he complained to the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, and he called him an unjust person. Okay, so I believe the traditions mentioned in Bukhari where Umar even threatened to kill this individual, and the Prophet said, "No, don't kill him." And then he also, as sign of his prophecy, foretold that a group or a sect was going to come from them, and he gave the signs of how these people would behave. And amongst
Sayyid Ali, I just cut you off. It was, from memory, that hadith was in Sahih Muslim.
Which one?
And I believe it was in Sahih Muslim.
For Zul Khawaisara?
I can't remember, but I remember specifically there was definitely a hadith in Sahih Muslim. It's a hadith. I can't. It's about 470 something. I'm not sure, but it is the one you're talking about. Where upon this, upon hearing someone say this to the Prophet, Umar asked to kill him and call him a munafiq.
No. Oh, yes. No, the narration you're talking about is about Abdullah ibn Ubay, who was another hypocrite Sahabah. Yeah, because remember, this is another interesting point, because a lot of these groups, they actually emerged from the camps of the companions themselves. The first hypocrite was a Sahaba by definition, because he accompanied the Prophet, and when he died, the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, even did his funeral prayers, and he buried him with his shirt. And if you look at the hadith where Umar mentions that, shall I chop the head of this hypocrite? The Prophet actually calls him his Sahaba. He said, listen, don't chop his head in case people say that Muhammad kills his companions. So the narration you're talking about is about Abdullah ibn Ubay. But this particular narration, which I'm mentioning, is about Zul Khawaisara. It's a totally different incident. But yeah, you'll notice that there's a lot of head chopping going on and all this stuff. But yeah, that's that's a topic for another time. So yeah, when it comes to the Nawasib, the general principle is when the Nawasib were those who, they kept hatred towards Imam Ali alayhi salam for many reasons. There are many reasons for that. Some people say it was a political thing. Some people say it's a religious thing. But whatever the case, these were people who kept serious animosity towards Imam Ali. So this was one group of people. And then you had the Kharijites, the Khawarij. In fact, let me just quickly bring up one more narration before I go and I'll pass it back on to you. I'm just going to quickly screen share. Just give me a second. And this is mentioned in the book of Al-Haythami, and he narrates on the authority of Imam Ali Islam that the Messenger of Allah made a covenant to me to fight the oath breakers, okay, the Gossaden and the Apostates. So these are two groups of people which the Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, made a covenant with. The Gossaden, meaning the oath breakers, and the Apostates. Well, they say apostates, but okay, they say, I believe the Arabic says the Marakin, and they were those people who went out, and we will see later in this little few traditions who that refers to. So this hadith It's authentic narration, and the narrators are of Bukhari and Muslim, with the exception of one of the narrators who is deemed authentic by Abu Hatim al-Razi. So I just want to quickly go down and just show you. Oh, sorry, just give me a second. There's the hadith there. And I just want to show you the scholars and what they've said about this particular narration. It's very interesting. Before I conclude on the Khawarij. So Ibn Hajar Asqalani, he says, what further proves is that this hadith of Ali alayhi salam, in which he says, I was commanded to fight the oath breakers, the Gossaden and the Marakin. Yeah. You could say apostates might not be the most appropriate word, but they were, you could say that the Marakin means those who went out, because, you know, there's a famous hadith where the Prophet talks about the Kharijis, and I believe it's mentioned in Sunnah ibn Majah, where he says that the Kharijis are the dogs of hellfire. And there's another narration where the Prophet actually instructed his Sahabah that if you ever see these people, kill them. Okay. And there's another narration which mentions that they will leave Islam like how an arrow passes a bow. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, apostates would probably be the most appropriate word. Some people may contest with that, but that's fine, no problem. So this narration, Al-Nasai recorded it in his Khasais in Al-Bazar and Al-Tabrani. And he continues and he says, the people of Jamal, and I wrote in brackets under Aisha, because obviously we know from history, Aisha was the person who led the battle of the Camel. The oath breakers, meaning Talha and Zubair, because we know these were people, these were Sahabah who first aligned their allegiance with Imam Ali Islam, and they later broke it because they broke their bay'ah to him. And the Gossaden were the people of Syria, okay, under Muawiyah, because they left the truth in their refusal to give him bay'ah. The apostates were the people of Nahrawan, meaning the Khawarij. Due to the establishment of the authentic report about that they apostatized or they left the religion, just as the arrow leaves the bow completely, which I mentioned to you guys earlier. And this hadith that, you know, Ammar would be killed by a rebellious group. Now, just to conclude on the point about the oath breakers and those who had left Islam, I just want to bring up a verse from the Holy Quran, and it's in Surah 72, verses 14 to 5. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and of some of us, some are Muslims who have submitted to Allah after listening to the Quran. And of some of us are the Al-Qasatun, the disbelievers, those who have deviated from the right path. And whoever has embraced Islam and has become Muslim and submitting to Allah, then such have sought the right path. And as for the Qasatun, the disbelievers who deviate from the right path, they shall be firewood of hell. So this verse of the Holy Quran is quite clear that the Qasatun, meaning the oath breakers, according to the Holy Quran, will abide in hellfire till eternity. Okay, so essentially we have two groups of people. And you know, I just want to mention a really quick point, Ryan. Sorry, I've been going on for quite a bit, and that is, if you notice that the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, he actually instructed Imam Ali alayhi salam to fight these people, the oath breakers and those who, you know, left the religion. Yet he never excused them on the basis of ijtihad. Do you understand? He never said that ijtihad would be rewarded. But here we can see from the Holy Quran that it's very clear that the Qasatun, that they are disbelievers. And according to the Holy Quran, they will be the firewood for hellfire. I don't know if the brothers want to mention anything further about the Kharijis and the Nasibis. Brother Ahmed, I don't know if you want to add anything, or Brother Raza.
Sayyid, you didn't give us a chance to add. You just summed up everything. Pretty much. You literally just summed up everything. What's there to say?
I think I went on for quite a bit. I could have gone into more detail, but I don't want to. I just want to cover many points.
Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more as well.
Of course, there's more. There's always more. But I just wanted to. The thing is, yes. So the reason why I mentioned the transmission of hadith, the reason why that's
You muted, Sayyid.
Sayyid, you're muted.
Yeah, the reason, Ryan, I wanted to mention the Kharijis and the Nasbis is the thing is now is okay. So you have the Sahaba, right?
Yeah.
Who they consider to be all just and truthful people, which again is open for debate because we need to see whether or not they are considered to be just and truthful, whether or not they did commit fisk, which takes them out of them being truthful, according to what the brother said in the first video, right? But having said that, on the other hand, you've got the Kharijis and the Nasbis, who, without doubt, they committed fisk, which would automatically negate the reliability and the truthfulness. Do you understand the point I'm trying to get?
Yeah, yeah.
Inconsistency.
Yeah. I've got actually a couple of hadith about this. So should I take over from now? Just for me to show this hadith and then rectify on these four issues. All right. Now, the first part of the hadith and documents I'm going to present is from Ibn Kathir. Basically, I'm going to start off with mentioning two narrations about knowing a truthful narrator, and then the next two hadith is about fatwas for whoever insults the Sahaba. I know we already covered on the previous show whoever insults the Sahaba, what's the punishment, vice versa, the kuffar, etc. But I thought we should just touch on it slightly. Now, everybody has the font. Everybody all good? All right. From Ibn Kathir, on his book Al-Bay'ath al-Hadith, Al-Ahadith, page 87. The accepted fact is that thiqa, i.e. a reliable person, is one who is
sorry,
considered...
brother. Sorry. Is you screen sharing or not?
I am. Oh, wait, hold up. 1 second. Everybody can see? I thought I was screen sharing.
Now I can see my face. Nice, thanks, bro.
Oh, cool. Okay, so the first hadith I'm going to show is from Ibn Kathir. Now, the accepted fact is that thiqa, i.e. a reliable person, is one who is considered preserved for his reports. A Muslim, rational, adult, preserved from fisk and what breaks morality, must be careful and not a fool. A preserver, if he narrates from his memory, understanding the meaning of what he narrates. If any of these conditions contains defect, his narration may be rejected. A narrator being just adala can be evidenced by his known good deeds. His being well praised for his being adala has been cited by imams, 2 or more. I'm just going to show you the scan. There you go. Al-Ba'ath al-Hadith. Here's the Arabic. Okay. Now here's another definition by Ibn Salah. The Imams of Hadith and Fiqh are unanimous that, and keep in mind, unanimous, that the following are conditions for accepting the reports of a narrator. Number 1, he must be a just person. Number 2, he must be truthful in what he narrates. Number 3, he must be an adult Muslim. Number 4, he must be intelligent. Number 5, he must be free from evil deeds. The source is Ulum al-Hadith, page 104. Now, before I move on to the next two narrations, I just want to comment a little bit. Now, as we've seen before in the video that Sayyid Ali beautifully presented from the brothers from the Sunni school of Islam, how one of the brothers ironically mentioned about La'an from one of the companions, yep, and the other one's saying if he's a fasiq, he's not adul. Cool. Now, here's the thing. Now, when a companion is cursing another companion, what happens there? I know we already covered this in the previous shows. Okay, so let me just mention the last two hadith actually, then it'll make more sense. There you go. Al-Dhahabi in his book Al-Kaba'ir, page 237, whoever criticizes or curses them, i.e. the companions, has verily left the religion of Islam and apostatized from the religion of Muslims. Now here's the issue now. Now Al-Dhahabi is saying that whoever curses the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Muawiyah cursed Imam Ali alayhi salam, and also Muawiyah is just one of the people which they take hadith from, what happens there? Sayyid Ali, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sorry, I had my microphone. That's a good point. I mean, it comes back to the principle, right? So you got Kharijis and Nasbis, okay? And these people, they made hatred of Imam Ali Islam as an integral part of the religion, okay? Yeah. And here, Dhabi is saying whoever criticizes or curses them is a kafir, right? They've apostated and left the religion. So, you know, can you see the inconsistencies here?
That's the thing.
If you say it's kufr to insult the Sahaba, then you need to apply the same principles on the Nasbi and Khariji narrators who you've taken your religion from.
Exactly right. And as you said before, the Nawasib are the ones who love Muawiyah, are the ones that rejected Imam Ali to some definitions. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think Suyuti's definition showed possibility.
All right, cool. Now let me just show the scan, and then I've got one more hadith to show. That's Kitab al-Kaba'ir. Okay. And he's a very renowned scholar from this day and age, Salih al-Fawzan. Whoever is a hater of the companion is a kafir. So that was very straightforward. So source al-Ijbat al-Muhimma, page 210. Now, same thing as al-Dhahabi said, same thing as al-Dhahabi technically said, whoever insults the companions are a kafir. And coming back to what Sayyid Ali said, so basically those people that insulted Imam Ali alayhi salam, so they're basically, this definition is kuffar.
You know the brother, sorry, Sayyid, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no, go ahead.
You know the brother actually mentioned, he said, oh, cursing Imam Ali Islam, it's a major sin. It's just a major sin. Since, subhanAllah, like, you say that anybody who insults the Sahaba is a kafir, but when a Nasbi does it, then it's just a major sin. It's not kafir, it's just a major sin, you know? So
that's double standards. That's double standards. Okay, if he's saying that, but his scholars are not. So end of the day, let's be honest, like, who are you exactly? If your scholars are saying he's a kafir, there you go what I'm trying to say. Like, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. It's all over.
They shoot themselves in the foot as well while they're doing it.
Yes, in a way. That's exactly what it is. Like, that's the irony of it. I'm just gonna stop screen sharing because that's it for you. I'll just show the scans, and then we'll just comment on this. There you go. All right. Now, as you said, Sayyid, in a way they shot himself in the foot. He's saying it's just a major sin. But I know I'm repeating myself because it's a very important point, this one. Like, your scholars are saying that they become kuffar. So automatically that should put Muawiyah under the category of kafir, unless there's a contradiction to this statement. Yes, Sayyid Ali. Ryan, you want to comment on this as well?
No, I'm fine.
We insist, Ryan, you do comment.
Yes.
I think it's quite. They have to my understanding, the reason why they will consider Sahaba cursing one another as being less of a thing than someone after the Sahaba cursing them. It's because of that concept. To my knowledge, it's that concept they have about the Sahaba being the best of generations, and etc. But that's such a flawed concept in and of itself. Like, how can you're putting them up on a pedestal, but then you're saying at the same time then they lower the Prophet down, and then like they just I find it so irrational, and you can't.
Ryan, if there was such a belief that was present during the time of the companions themselves, do you think they would have gone around cursing each other, fighting each other, killing each other?
Yeah. And the thing is, but the reason why they have to, what's the term, sugarcoat this issue, saying, oh, it's just a sin, this, that. Because if they're going to start making takfir on everything, takfir on every single companion, then most of the religion falls in the bin. Because that's where they get most of their religion from. That's something also to keep in mind, you know, because I just find it as a way they're just sugarcoating this, trying to hide the bigger picture, just trying to show the public that, oh, okay, guys, they made sins, but they're not that bad, you know what I mean? You can still take info from them. But if they show what actually happened and what's the stems from their scholars, then it just falls like a bunch of dominoes.
We have
That's
inshallah. Yeah, we can look at individuals such as Abu Hurairah and etc. etc. You know, inshallah ta'ala, there'll be. We'll be talking. Yeah, we'll be talking about him a bit more in depth.
We can, because at the end of the day, this Dala series just kind of really started, right? We just touching on the foundation. Sorry, I apologize. Let me just sort my camera out. We're just kind of touching on the foundations at the moment. So we've not even got to the crux of the argument yet, and we need to
scratch the surface. We didn't even scratch the surface. It's just
we're just discussing whether or not it's kufr or not to curse the Sahaba. As you can see, according to these principles, many of these Kharijis and Nasibis would fall into the category. So coming back to let's come back to the point on. Okay, well, some people could argue. They could say, well, we have evidence to prove that the Sahaba were truthful because at times they would testify to some of their sins, right? Or maybe they would say something which would go against themselves. So why would a person who is considered not reliable do such a thing? I mean, Ryan, what do you think about that?
I think that's silly, because even someone who's guilty of murder can plead guilty. You know what I mean? It depends on the context of why they might be admitting to doing something. You know, I've had people openly admit to doing something wrong just so people wouldn't think badly of them. So there's heaps of things you can take into consideration, and I'm not going to say that this certain individual from the Sahaba did it because of that, because that would be a conjecture. I can't say that, but it's obvious that it's not them just telling the truth doesn't necessarily imply that they're good people. You know what I mean?
I think even our ulama, to be honest with you, they have a principle, and that is that you can narrate from people of innovation, so as long as they don't narrate something in favor of what they believe, which is fine. I mean, at the end of the day, let's be realistic. I think there's a hadith in Bukhari where Satan, the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings be upon him, curses Satan. He curses Satan. He says, this person is a liar, but he spoke the truth. So, there's times where even a liar can speak the truth. There's even times where even perhaps a truthful person can conceal something.
I remember in the very first series that we did on Tawheed, I think it was Brother Shadi was saying repeatedly, he goes, look, a broken clock can be right twice a day.
Yeah.
So we can't just expect a liar to be lying all the time.
Yeah.
Because that'd make them literally insane. That's pathological liars. So I don't personally think some of these people were insane. I could argue one could argue that they're evil, but that doesn't mean that they'll lie all the time.
Ryan, didn't Pharaoh confess to his sins on his deathbed?
Yeah,
he did.
He did?
Yeah.
Where?
So that means Pharaoh would be Adul then, according to that principle. He would be just and truthful.
Oh, man.
Obviously,
I just woke up, bro.
Obviously, he wouldn't be. But even then, let's just assume that there was a group of individuals who confessed to their sin. Okay. And, they said things that could be against them. Fine, no problem. That still doesn't prove that all 114,000 of them were all just and truthful people, right?
No, exactly. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to what we find in the knuckle. You know what I mean? And if there's overwhelming evidence from the knuckle to suggest that they're not reliable, or at least puts their reliability into question, then we should just we have to accept that.
You know what I heard? The most recent thing I heard. This is from the same channel, right? I think the brothers mentioned that the cursing of Imam Ali alayhi salam was not something. It was a political thing, so it's fine if you politically curse the Sahaba. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a major sin, but it's not kufr. Fine, then how can you have a problem with Shias going around cursing the Sahaba? So if a Shia today curses, I don't know, the first two, Abu Bakr and Umar, and say, well, we do this, but we do it politically. Does that make it acceptable? Does that make it right?
No. There seems to be a lot. For me, the problem with humanity, and I've said this before in previous videos, is cognitive dissonance. You know, having one belief and then holding a contradicting belief or doing contradicting actions at the same time. You know, you can't expect one person to do one thing and then yourself to be at a different standard. You know what I mean? Because that's hypocrisy in and of itself. So we just have this. We really need to iron out all these issues, and the only way we can do that is create dialogue as we're doing now. Because you can't exactly as you just said, you can't be praising a person that was doing the very thing that you don't like other people doing.
Yeah.
That's just retarded.
Yeah.
Oh, you cursed the Sahabah. Well, yeah, Muawiyah cursed the Sahabah. Why do you like him? Why do you hate me?
The Kharijis and Nasbis, didn't they curse the Sahaba? They fought against them. They even
did.
killed them. Ibn Muljam was a Khariji, right? And one of the most notable or most respectable Salafi scholars of the past, Ibn Taymiyyah, said himself that Ibn Muljam, he praised him. He said this guy was a good Quran reciter. And then if you ask them, okay, so what's the evidence for that? They say, oh, well, the Kharijis, they were famous for reciting the Quran. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Is it, do any of our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamal, do they believe there's no problem with cursing Ibn Taymiyyah, is there?
Oh, well, what do you mean, bro? What do you mean? Well, that's a very big problem, some of them. That's a very big problem with a lot of them, actually, bro.
If you do it politically, I assume it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, well then, okay. All right. Excellent. Now, Brother Ahmed, did you have anything?
Ahmed,
quiet. Yep.
Here I
am.
Just really quickly, you want to open this out to the public right at the end, the show?
Well, I did what right at the end?
No.
No? Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to find
yes.
This time I will not swear. Actually, I have a medicine against swearing right now. Let me show you.
Can you show us the medicine you're taking, please?
Yep. I curse so much that now every time I see an atrocity, I just use my WTF medicine. It prevents me from saying it. So every time I see something overly offending or overly crazy, I'll just drink this.
Where can people purchase that, Ahmed?
Oh, well, it's a Shi'i only thing because we see so many atrocities in the Sunni side, so we have to drink it, I guess.
Yes, of course.
Anyway, so now let me build up on what you guys said. So you guys were saying that there is a double standard in which the Shi'is are considered unreliable, even though the Nasibis and Kharijis, who also curse and hate and do takfir on some other Sahabas, such as Imam Ali alayhi salam, and they get away with it. So let me show you examples of that. The first example is Na'im bin Abi Hind al-Na'man bin Ashyam al-Ashja'i, Thiqa Rumiya bin Nasb. He is a Thiqa and he had been accused of Nasibism. He died that year, blah, blah, blah. Also, another major Nasibi who is reliable is Abdullah bin Zayd bin Amr bin Amir al-Jarami. He's titled Abu Qilab al-Basri. Thiqa, he's reliable. Fadil, he's honorable. Kathir al-Irsal, he does a lot of irsal. قال العجلي فيه نصب يسير. He has soft Nasibism. So he's not like a full-time Nasibi. He doesn't like curse Imam Ali. He just hates him a little. And he's a thiqa. I guess if someone hated Umar a little, he wouldn't be a thiqa. Time for some WTF medicine.
Make sure you take any medication, please, today.
Yeah. It's the only way I won't curse at this guy. La'anahullah. Anyway. A third Nasibi in this book. Oh, I didn't even say what book it is. It's in تقريب التهذيب by Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. So one last Nasibi in this book, then we'll move to Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, where I'll also mention Shi'is. Khalid bin Salama bin al-As bin Hisham bin al-Mughira al-Makhzumi, al-Kufi, المعروف بالفأفأ. They call him Fa'fa. I wonder how he got that name. أصله مدني. He's originally from المدينة. صدوق رمي بالإرجاء والنصب. He's truthful and have been accused of Nasibism. So, and now let's move on to Siyar A'lam Nubala, where we'll see more examples of truthful, honorable Nasibis according to the Hadith. Oh no, this is where I keep the Shi'i guy. Let's move to him later. Yep.
Brother Ahmed, is this your personal library?
I can't see his
Yep.
library. I think half of the books he's borrowed them from me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Those are
So
our-
yeah, here is a side. Here is another side.
Oh my lord,
I've got
mashallah.
Ahmed, I've got dozens of books, and this is where I keep my books and also my audience.
Inshallah.
Look at
Your
my
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Yeah, I've got Bulbasaur, I've got Angry Bird, who's only angry because of your double standards. I've got Charmander, I've got Jigglypuff. I've got all of the guys.
I gotta mute myself.
So, anyway, I think someone removed the bookmarks from my Nasibi books. Anyway, someone's trying to sabotage our research, guys. Here is one Nasibi. A very famous Nasibi. Umar bin Sa'ad,
Can you just
the
show us
murderer of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
Can you show us the book, please? What
Oh,
book
yeah.
it-
This is Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, the first volume. So, Umar bin Sa'ad, the leader of the army that killed Imam al-Hussein, they say radiyallahu anhu, alayhi salam, then al-Mukhtar killed him. He was brave. Oh yeah. Al-Nasa'i said he and his sons were killed, a lot of other stuff. He lived a long time. He told hadith from Abu Dhar and Abu Darda and Abu Huraira. People who took hadith from him include Abdullah bin Buraida and others. وثقه النسائي وغيره. وكان أحد القراء والزهاد رحمه الله لعنه الله. So Nasa'i and others considered him reliable, and he was one of the readers of Quran, and he was pious. And they say rahimahullah. I wonder if they would say that to the murderers of Uthman. So yeah, here is one other major Nasibi in this book. And excuse me while I look for other sources, just 1 second.
Just on an interesting point, though, Nasai himself, they said he had some sort of inclination towards Tashayyu, and we know that he wrote his famous book, which he was he faced a lot of criticism for. So now, if this individual had this Shia leniency, or he had this, he was inclined towards Tashayyu, why would he consider someone like Umar ibn Sa'd to be truthful? I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Ahmed? Because to be fair, that is a very valid point, right? Or not?
Oh, well, all I can say is that even if he personally is a little inclined towards Tashayyu', like the whole system, the whole Sunni establishment that started before him have been considering those people reliable. So he was raised into those double standards. He was born into those double standards in a way that he couldn't break out of. And anyway, like they say that a person who hates the Sahabis is not a reliable narrator. Well, how about a man who killed a Sahabi, led an army against the entire family of the Prophet, killing a Sahabi, killing more than one Sahabi in the process? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is one of the young Sahaba, as they call them, Sigar al-Sahaba.
Yeah.
And also you've got Habib bin Mudahir and others in the army. And they all were martyred. So what kind of double standards is that?
Yeah.
So anyway, I believe I spoke enough about Nasibi narrators, and I think Sayyid Ali wants to mention other Nasibi narrators and Khariji narrators also.
I mean,
So now I'm going to move to the Shi'i narrators.
Actually,
Sorry, you were saying something?
before you do go to the Shia narrators, can I just share one Nasibi narrator? Is that okay?
Sure.
Go ahead, Sayyid.
Okay, give me a second. Can you see my screen?
Share your screen, Sayyid.
You should be able to see it. Hold on, give me a second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so now in terms of Nasibi narrators, I believe I personally come across around about 30 of them. 30 no Nasibi narrators. Some of them have narrated only one or two traditions in the six Sunni books. Some of them narrate many traditions. Some narrate even up to 30, 40 traditions from the six books. But this is a very interesting narrator, okay? Okay, let's just assume that these Nasibis were truthful people, okay? You know, okay, there's one thing being truthful, right? And there's another thing where you praise them to a level where you make them to be leaders of your religion, okay? So here's an individual by the name called Asad ibn Musa, okay? And he was given the laqab or the title of the Lion of Al-Sunnah, okay? So you know when they say Lion of Al-Sunnah, or you might hear these terms being thrown about a lot. What they actually mean is a Nasibi of Al-Sunnah, okay? So this is the lions of Al-Sunnah, and this is for example, Ibn Hajar Asqalani in his Tahdhib al-Tathib, he says Tahdhib al-Tathib, he says that Sahih Bukhari, he's narrating in Sahih Bukhari, he's narrating in Sunan Nasai, Sunan Abu Dawud, Asad ibn Musa, Ibrahim ibn Walid ibn Abdul Malik ibn Marwan al-Amawi, Umawi, al-Nasai said trustworthy. Ibn Yunus and other scholars have authenticated him, and that's one narrator, okay, Asad ibn Musa. Some people say Asad was his name and not his title, so I just want to clear that up as well. So again, Bukhari has said his narrations are renowned, and he's given the title of the Lion of Al-Sunnah, okay, and that's in Tadhib al-Kamal. I'll see if I got someone else. Again, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in his book Taqrib al-Tathib, and he says Asad ibn Musa ibn Ibrahim ibn Walid ibn Abdul Malik ibn Marwan al-Umawi, the Lion of Al-Sunnah, the truthful. Okay, so this lion was a Nasibi, and he was considered to be like a leader for these guys. Mizan al-Ittidal, and that's in volume 1, page 207, person number 815. Again, Asad ibn Musa, so on, and it says he was Hafiz, and he was given the title the Lion of the Sunnah. Okay, obviously, we have lions. We have Asadullah. We have lions like Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi Islam, but they have lions like this individual. May Allah curse him. So yeah, that's I just wanted to share that. Ahmed, please come on.
Oh yes, I'm back. So I'll talk about the Shi'i narrators who got attacked and considered unreliable only because of their Shi'ism and no other reason. So first of all, in Tahdhib al-Kamal, no, I believe we spoke about this one. Did you talk about Tahdhib al-Kamal? Did you talk about Amran? Oh no, you didn't. So in Tahdhib al-Kamal fi Asma' al-Rijal by al-Mizzi.
Have you got the book there? You can show it to us, please.
I have this one on PDF, so no. But it's تهذيب الكمال في أسماء الرجال للحافظ المتقن جمال الدين بن أبي الحجاج يوسف المزي.
I have it. Give me a minute. I'm going to quickly screen share so everyone can see it.
All righty.
Yeah, sure.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Imran bin Muslim al-Fuzari, Kufi.
Okay, give me a second. Sorry, give me a second. I'm just going to bring out. Which book are you reading it from?
تهذيب الكمال في أسماء الرجال.
Let me check. I may not have. What was the narrator?
The narrator is Imran bin Muslim al-Fuzari.
No, you've got somebody else. But go ahead, please. Carry on. I apologize. I don't have this one. But there's a few Shia. There's a few Rafidi Shia narrators. But yeah, please just let us know what they said about them.
Alrighty. So he was from Al-Kufa. He narrated hadith from Mujahid and Atiyah, and his hadith were taken by Al-Fadl al-Sinani and Abu Na'im. Abu Ahmad al-Zubayri said about him, Rafidi كأنه جرو كلب. He is a Rafidi just like the puppy of a dog. And I say, يعني قلت, the author of this book says, خراء الكلاب كالرافضي. So he is as Rafidi as the shits of dogs. Astaghfirullah. They're giving sects to even shits of dogs. That's how sectarian they are.
Wow.
So, also, it was said about him in... no, this is another book. Alrighty, wait a second. I'll check what book is this and get back to you. Okay, so yeah. The other one is Tariq Yahya bin Mu'in. He says about a man called Talid كذاب كان يشتم عثمان وكل من يشتم عثمان أو طلحة أو أحدا من أصحاب النبي دجال لا يكتب عنه وعليه لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين. So this man, Talid, according to them, insults Uthman, and everyone who insults Uthman or Talha or any of the Sahabis is a Dajjal, big liar, and لا يكتب عنه, we won't write hadiths from him, وعليه لعنة, and on him the curse of God and the angels and all the humans. Now I want to add. Yeah, sorry?
No, nothing. Keep going.
So I want to ask, like the guys who insulted the Imam Ali alayhi salam and were Nasibis, didn't they insult the Sahabi? Why did you write hadiths from them? Yani this kind of censorship in which only one side is taken, only the Nasibi side is taken and the Rafidi side is not taken, yani it is bias. A research that is biased should not be considered reliable.
And
so
finish off what you're saying.
I'll bring up a few more narrators. One of them, I have him on a book right here, so I'll just reopen the video. Is it open? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Can you show us the front cover?
The what?
Front cover. Just know which book it is.
Oh, yeah. So, it is volume 2 of Siyar Alam al-Nubala by Dhahabi. This is one last Rafidi I'll talk about. His name is Fitr bin Khalifa. الشيخ العالم المحدث الصدوق. The sheikh, the scholar, the narrator, the truth teller. Abu Bakr al-Kufi al-Makhzumi. That's his name. Mawla Amr bin Hurayth. رضي الله عنه في الحناط. So he was the servant of Amr bin Hurayth. He took hadiths from those people, many people, including Abi Tufayl and others. His hadiths were taken by the two Sufyans and Abu Usama and others. Ibn Hanbal considered him reliable, okay. And Murrah said he was reliable, but he was lenient. I think he was lenient, okay. Ahmad al-Ajali said ثقة فيه تشيع يسير. He has soft Nasibism. Ibn Sa'ad, soft Shi'ism, تشيع يسير. And Ibn Sa'ad said stuff. Where is the guy I want to quote? Okay, Abu Bakr bin Ayyash said, I didn't leave taking hadith from him, ما تركت الرواية عن فطر إلا بسوء مذهبه. So the only reason he didn't take his hadiths is because of his bad madhab, aka Shi'ism. Well, how about the madhab of the Nasibis? Why didn't you ignore those guys? So yeah, here is one more. He is a thiqa and smart, but كان يتشيع. يعني he had Shi'i tendencies. He isn't even a full-time Shi'i. So Ahmad bin Yunus said, تركته عمدا. I abandoned him by intention. I intended to not take his hadith. وكان يتشيع because he's a Shi'i. وكنت أمر به بالكناسة من أصحاب الطعام وكان أعرج فأمر وأدعه نفس الكلب مثل الكلب. So I passed by him in the market and by the food sellers, and the man had an issue walking, like he was an أعرج. And فأمر وأدعه مثل الكلب. So I pass by and I leave him behind just like a dog. That's because he's a Shi'i. And the Nasibis absolutely always get away with it. So, yeah, what else do we need to cover?
Yeah, just a couple of points as well I just want to mention. And that is, sometimes when we say about Rafidi narrators mentioned in their books, they may not necessarily be Rafidi according to our standards as well.
Yeah, Said, can I just say something?
Sure.
Finishing off your sentence, that's what I was going to get at as well. Like, they don't consider all the Rafidi as 12 Shi'i Imamis. Does that make sense? They consider the Rafidi a lot of the times just the ones who rejected Uthman at some cases. Like, there's two types, I'm pretty sure. There's one that rejected Uthman and accepted Ali over Uthman, and the other ones that just rejected the first three and just accepted Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Those were Shias. But when it comes to Rafidis, they were those who, obviously rejected the Khilafat of Abu Bakr and Umar, right?
That's what I said, yeah.
Which by their standards, by the way, would make them kafir anyway. So accepting reports from kafir, again, you'd have Nasbis who would be considered kafir according to them. You'd have Rafidis who would be considered kafir according to their principles. And even the Kharijis, even though they don't consider the Kharijis to be disbelievers, they actually consider them to be, they consider their actions to be actions of disbelief, but they don't actually consider them to be disbelievers. Neither should they consider anyone else who curses the Sahabah to be disbelievers, especially if you're going to do it politically, right? If you politically curse the Sahaba, it makes it fine. If you religiously do it, then of course it's a problem according to them. Very strange principle. But yes, interestingly, a Nasbi according to Shia definition again is something totally different. I think we can do a whole show just on what the Shia definition of what a Nasbi is, but I think for now we just stick on these points. I don't know if there's anything else further you guys want to add, Ryan?
Especially Ryan. I'm waiting for Ryan to say something.
Oh, sorry, I need to add something before Brian. Sorry.
Yes.
I made a little mistake and I need to clarify it. When I spoke about Al-Fazari, Imran, I said that he was mentioned in a book, and he's actually mentioned in Mizan al-I'tidal, not in the Tahdhib book I mentioned. So let me re-clarify the thing.
Fine, no problem. That's fine. Guys, do you want to open this out to the public after we've finished the live show? I just want
to... yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, it was actually in Mizan al-I'tidal fi Naqd al-Rijal by Al-Dhahabi that the man was called Imran was called, what was he called? Let's see. I said this before, but let me re-say it too. Yeah, in which he said he used to insult Uthman, therefore he's not reliable and all that. And thank you.
Brilliant. Very much.
Beautiful.
Well done.
I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add.
Well,
No,
alhamdulillah, I think we covered everything. Pretty
You know
sure.
what, there's another point I just wanted to mention as well. Sorry, I apologize. This is
Go ahead,
a
Sayyid.
huge topic. We can go on for it for hours and hours. But sometimes I've noticed as well, sometimes even within Shia traditions, we may have narrators who some of our scholars have considered them not to be Nasibi and others have. But then again, I think it goes to the issue of some scholars, they may have not identified his beliefs to that extent that they could consider him to be a Nasibi. I mean, there's loads we can say on this topic, but the whole crux of the whole episode of today is that if we're going to consider it, forget the issue of trustworthiness. Let's just assume that these Nasbis or whatever they were considered, these Kharijis were considered to be truthful people. The principle is that you can't say it's disbelief to curse the Sahaba or oppose or fight them or even kill them. When if you're saying it's disbelief, then you'd have to accept that you take your religion from disbelievers. Ryan, I don't know if you want to add anything before I end it.
No, I'm fine. I don't think there's anything else for me to add. I think everyone's once again touched on everything that we need to touch on for the day. I think, Brother Ahmed, you might need to get some stronger medicine. That's all good. I love it. The passion is there, and clearly the audience can obviously tell. Especially you coming from the background that you did, and come to the realization, how much it's affected you and how passionate you are now, given everything that you've learned. And mashallah, I really respect that. Even as a fellow convert, to show you, I respect that. You know what I mean? So, and thanks to all three of you for jumping on the panel today. I really appreciated it. And are we going to open it up now?
Yeah, go ahead. I reckon start opening up.
All right. So if anyone would like to join the panel, we're going to go offline. But if anyone would like to have a discussion with us, ask us any questions, feel free to jump on once the video goes offline.